Well, hello, my lovely lilies. Tonight I have something special for you, courtesy of Jillybean, who sent the request to me. The story is entitled Taking Credit. So, dim the lights, close the blinds, cuddle under your favorite blanket, and let's begin. I once had a friend, Amber was her name, who never did anything for herself, never earned anything of her own accord, and never achieved anything from her own work and effort. Everything she had came from someone else. Her parents, who are not in any way rich. They certainly weren't poor, but they weren't middle class either, who did everything around the house for her, who she threw tantrums at to get her own way, who she manipulated into complaining to the school every time a teacher noticed she hadn't done her own work, or was failing, or being disruptive. Her siblings, who she domineered over. She blackmailed and bribed them into doing her chores and every other task she didn't feel like doing. She's the youngest of 3, I should mention. Her classmates, whom she bullied. The smart kids were forced into doing her homework or letting her copy. The same went for classwork. Anyone the slightest bit different was basically a gazelle to a lion with her. And with her leading the charge, the general popular crowd, sheep, soon followed into their teasing that quickly escalated. Her teachers, whom were powerless to do anything against her, lest she raise all hell and cry to her parents. I don't begrudge them for barely doing a thing about her. They had bills to pay, and most had kids to feed, and they couldn't afford to lose their jobs. I could go on and on, but I'm sure it's clear now just what kind of person this friend was. Now, I imagine you're wondering why I'd be friends with someone like that in the first place. I can tell you, it wasn't really a choice I had. Our families were friends going back to our great-grandparents. Whether I like it or not, and believe me, I didn't. I had to socialize with this girl during joint family vacations, barbecues, parties, the works. My parents, they knew what a little witch she was, but they dare not ruin a friendship spanning generations by bringing it up to her folks. So, my little sister and I had to endure this human parasite that fed on other people's ideas, influences, and achievements. For the most part, I was spared her bullcrap. I think she had been wary of sparking a family feud. Not that that seems in line with how she generally was, but it's the only reason I can think of. For whatever reason, she decided the countless innocents at her mercy was just not enough, and she needed to add me into the mix. Now, she couldn't do it in her usual, obvious way. No. Instead, she decided to be sly as she could manage. She stole my journal. Now, this wasn't a journal full of my private thoughts and secrets that she planned to blackmail me with. I, fortunately, did not have one of those. So, what was stolen from me, in its pages, is arguably just as bad, in a different sort of way. They were my ideas. I used that journal for world and character building, as well as setting up the plot for a story I wanted to write. A story I hoped to publish. I wrote it out because it was precious to me, and I was always worried my laptop would die, or I'd be unable to recover it. I had already drafted up a few of the earlier chapters, too. Once I was happy with them, I planned on typing them up. I didn't get a chance. She took it. She took my ideas, my hard work, and passed it off as her own. She used it for our creative writing class at first. I didn't know until the teacher passed around copies. She was making an example for us. That's when I saw my characters, my plot, a piece of my heart and soul on the pages before me. I could feel tears prickling in my eyes when I realized what had happened. I hadn't even realized the journal was gone. I had been too busy with homework in the days before to even write in it. There was nothing I could do about it in class. It was my word against hers, even if the teachers knew what she was like. They all bent to her will in the end. All I did was raise my hand and said, I didn't feel well. I think the fact that I was on the verge of tears added to the lie, and I was excused. The school nurse let me go home with what she presumed was a 24-hour stomach bug. I wanted to tell my parents, but at the same time, I didn't. I didn't want to be the one to blame for tearing apart our families, even if it was really her fault. So I kept it inside. I cried in my room. My parents just thought it was because of whatever bug I had. I hadn't been sick before, but letting it bubble up within me gave me knots in my stomach that turned into me vomiting into a bucket my mom left beside my bed. My parents kept me home from school the next day. I thought maybe I'd get over it. Maybe I'd be better the next day, and I could tell them and get my notebook back. Until a friend sent me a text. Hey, Amber gave Miss Temple more of that story. I think she wants to put it in the school magazine. I don't know what happened to me as I read that, but I knew something broke. A mixture of anger, frustration, and sadness flooded me, a hot fury mixed with heartbreak. I couldn't tell my parents, not now. It wouldn't be enough. A plan was forming in my mind as I lay in bed crying. It wouldn't be something I could do overnight, but it would be worth it. Let me tell you, that year's worth of cosplay experience was invaluable to my plan. I could dress up as pretty much anyone or anything with the right amount of effort and materials, and I already knew what I intended to do once my outfit was complete. She wanted to steal from me? Fine, I'd get even. You see, Amber had this boy she liked. His name is Adam. Adam was kind of a pig. A pig not interested in her, much to her frustration. No, his interest lay in Miss Winter and her ease. Though I'm pretty sure, like all bad people, they'd somehow drifted together. That's my experience with these sort of things anyway. That is where my plans come in. Now, Amber and I are the same height, with the same fair complexion. However, she has blonde hair and green eyes, while I have auburn hair and blue eyes. These traits were an easy fix, with a long, wavy wig and a set of my innumerable contact lenses. The one other difference was that I was blessed with a chest, as it were. A fact I'm sure he'd look over, or be too preoccupied with staring at to pay much attention to anything else. I did have a plan in mind for that too, if I was questioned. Amber always got her way. It wouldn't be a stretch to imagine she'd convince her parents to let her get a boob job. I knew Adam tended to hang out in the alley beside the local arcade, blowing out smoke like he was some cool dude from the 50s or something. He thought the games were too dumb and for kids, so he stayed there while his friends played, as if it somehow made him more mature. I was waiting for him as he swaggered down the alley. The shaded passage was helpful in concealing my identity. It was a good disguise, but not foolproof. The dark helped with that. "Hey, Adam," I called out. trying to up the pitch of my voice to that sickeningly sweet tone Amber had. He barely looked up from his phone as he approached, unlit cigarette held between his lips. "Hey, Emma, right?"
It's Amber."
"Close enough." I managed to laugh. If it was anyone else, I'm sure Amber would have thrown a hissy fit. But with this creep, she let anything slide. Idiot.
"Think I could bum one of those off of you?"
I asked, nodding towards the cigarette. "What's it worth?" His eyes were trained on my chest as he spoke. Teenage boys.
"What? You want a free grab or something?"
I felt gross just uttering those words. Now, I have no issue with any guy or girl messing around. However they want. It was just sickening, humoring this waste of oxygen. "If you're offering." I really wasn't, but needs must and all.
"Fine, but I want that smoke first."
He sighed, but stepped forward, putting his phone away and pulling out the box instead. "Here, you women always want it your way." If I had been me, I would have responded to that casual bit of sexism, but I had to keep up this act for just a little while longer.
"That's because I know what I want,"
I said, batting my eyelashes at him. But it certainly wasn't to let this creep fondle my chest while he came in his pants. As he stepped closer, I clutched at the purse hanging from my shoulder. Amber and I both had always made sure to carry large purses around, so it didn't look out of place on me here. We also happened to have identical purses. Fancy that! Milliseconds passed like hours to me as he drew within touching distance. Closer and closer. "I'm sorry." "What?" My bag came down over his head, and Adam fell to the floor. I was knocked off balance, stumbling due to the weight of my weapon into the wall. Adam didn't move. He didn't even grumble or swear, or any of the other things I assumed a person would do when smacked over the head with a concealed brick. I took a breath, and I straightened myself before finally looking back at Adam properly. My body was shaking. His head was bleeding. Unsurprisingly, it wasn't just bleeding on the side I hit it. He managed to crack his head on a step leading to the back entrance of the arcade. He was staring up with blank eyes, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, as well as his head wounds. The one from the step was deeper than my hit. I was sure I could see his skull, but the blood was pumping through my body so hard and fast I couldn't be sure. I'd done too good of a job, but no going back now. When my legs stopped shaking so much, I ran, as I had always intended to do, back past the building site where I picked up the brick, and I'd take it back from my bag and return it, straight back to my house and into my room, and from there into my closet. Costume dumped on the floor. I let the still cold water of the shower wash over me. It was done. I couldn't take it back, but it had gone even better than I planned, really. I was shocked when my parents sat me down the next day and broke the news to me that one of my schoolmates had been murdered. I forced out the tears when they told me. CCTV footage had caught Amber in the act. A part of me was proud. I was so convincingly disguised that even my own parents didn't recognize me. We'll be keeping you off school for a while, honey. If you need to go lie down, Maddie, that's okay. The police might be back to talk to you about Amber, but you don't have to talk until you're ready. I sniffed and stood to hug them both before retreating to my room. Oh, I was ready, but I had to play the part of the shocked childhood friend who couldn't understand how someone who was practically a sister to her, could do something so heinous. Yes, she'd always been prone to aggressive outbursts, but they were like toddlers' temper tantrums. She never physically hurt anyone. Well, yes, she did prey on some of the meeker kids that were easy targets for bullying, but it just seemed like typical teenage crap. Nothing really malicious. Well, now that you mention it, she did have a crush on that boy, and has never liked being told no. Maybe she snapped. I don't know. Her parents could never really discipline her. She walked all over them. She definitely had some issues. I had it all planned out, and I delivered my lines flawlessly when a pair of the officers came to my home to ask me a few questions. Amber's reputation was fuel against her. Even her parents, who had understandably been trying to defend their child's innocence, ended up questioning her innocence and exactly what she was capable of. Our families grew apart with the weight of the trial on Amber's parents' backs, but my parents were distantly supportive in their own way, even if things were tense and awkward. Amber continued to deny it, even after the guilty verdict was given. I'm told she was sobbing and pleading with the judge and jury, with her parents, begging everyone to believe she was innocent and it wasn't her. Poor Amber. She liked to take the credit for work that was not hers. So, I made sure she got the credit for my greatest work yet. Alright, my lovely lilies, thank you so much for watching the new video. If you can, hit that subscribe and like button, comment below and tell me your thoughts. Also, don't forget to tap the little notification bell so you're always in the know on this channel. As well, guys, you can always find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and always you can hit me up in my emails. Feel free to send me your stories, whether they're fiction or totally true. I'm always up for some great stories. And oh, by the way, until next time, sweet dreams.